Here on Bay Radio this week, we welcome James Stirling back to the studio. How are you doing, James?
I'm very well, thanks, Howard. Thanks for having me back.
Well, believe it or not, time flies. This is a third of his discussions with us. He previously gave us helpful tips on moving to Spain, and now we're going further back on that journey to help listeners who are still undecided about whether to move to Spain or stay in the UK. So, over this week and next, James will explore whether Spain or the UK offers the best value for your retirement years. So James, to start with, moving to Spain now involves the extra cost of getting a residence visa. What costs are we looking at?
Yes, well, Howard, really since Brexit, we obviously have this slightly more interesting process of a visa application. Now, I really don't want people to be put off, because as we discussed in the previous episode, there are many different visa types that you can go down. The main ones being, as we said, non-lucrative visa and digital nomad visa. Now, it depends how much stress you want to have in your life. So, if you were just to go doing the non-lucrative visa route and you're happy doing the application process, then typically it would cost around £500 per person. However, what I often recommend clients do is seek professional help, guidance, and use an immigration firm. Because the process that you have to go through, it can be quite elongated. There can be quite a few documents you need to have translated, notarized. And so paying that little bit extra to have professional help is really important in this instance.
How do Spanish property prices compare to the UK, both for buying and renting?
Generally, much cheaper. So if we look at a direct comparison between square meters, then it's about a 40% reduction. That being said, what I typically find with clients, they'll be looking to move to areas that are quite popular within Spain. So that doesn't really translate perfectly. That being said, in terms of the experience I've had with my clients and the advice that we've provided, what I typically find is clients, if they're selling a medium valued house in the UK, then they'll be able to do that, buy a similar property within Spain, and also release some capital at the same time. So when we're looking at the process of moving for clients, this will be an integral part of it. But largely, property prices are much more affordable for purchasing properties in Spain. On the rental side, over the last 3 years, we've seen quite a big increase in rental prices within Spain. That being said, the government has introduced a number of different measures to try and get long-term lets, more long-term lets and less Airbnb properties. And hopefully that will feed through to the rental prices. That being said, renting out here is still largely affordable when you compare it to the UK, unless you're looking at the hotspots. What I always say to clients is some useful advice. If you're looking to move to a certain region in Spain, rent for a year. That will give you an idea of the properties that exist in the area. It gives you an idea of doing a bit of research. Because one of the key differences between Spain and the UK is the tax for purchasing a property is significantly higher. So to purchase a property and then not like it within 12 months and move again can be quite costly. So renting for a year is something that I advise most clients to do unless they find the property that they really, really enjoy.
Yeah, good advice. Would you say the general cost of living is lower here in Spain than in the UK?
I'm always staggered when I return to the UK and go to the local supermarket at the cost that's there. Okay, it's anecdotal, but that's what I tend to see from clients. And if you look at the data between the UK and Spain, yes, we are much cheaper when it comes to costs of food, when it comes to costs of electricity and general bills. It is much cheaper. One thing that I think is really important to add to that, though, is if you are looking to purchase a property, the community fees are really, really important to add in because they're very, very different to typically what you would see in the UK. But as a generalization, often I find clients that will come out here and will get a lot more for their money.
What about the importance of healthcare?
Critical. I think most Brits will be very pleased that Spain has a universal healthcare system, and hopefully that should be reassuring. It is typically quite affordable, and if you're going through the visa process, then you will have to have arranged private healthcare, which can cost a few £1,000s each. And it's something that I find clients often forget when they're budgeting for Spain. So doing the research and getting the figures in front of you prior to that just means you can be as efficient as possible with your budgeting. That being said, if you are of state pension age, then you can sign what's called an S1 form, fill this in, and that will pay for the costs of your healthcare within Spain for the duration of your stay there. But the key is you have to be of state pension age.
Well, thank you, James. Next week, we'll focus on comparing UK and Spanish taxation. But in the meantime, how can listeners get in touch with Blevins Franks if they have questions about moving to and living in Spain?
A really good place to start would be to head to our website. So that's blevinsfranks.com. There you can find a host of information on our services, what we do for clients, but also in terms of country specifics and taxation. You can also get in touch, and if you're looking to arrange a meeting, you can do that at blevinsfranks.com.
Many thanks for talking again next week.
Thanks very much, Howard.